If I told you that one type of exercise helps you live longer and another one helps you stay stronger, which one would you choose? Cardio or weights? That's the fight everyone loves to have, right? And that's usually exactly where people just get it wrong. If your goal is looking younger, feeling younger, and staying healthier long term, the answer is probably isn't what most people think. Some people practically live on a treadmill, while others practically live in the weight room. The question is, who actually wins long term? Here's the part that matters most. Your body doesn't care about which camp you follow. It doesn't care about what the debate is. It just responds to one thing, and that is consistency over time. One camp says cardio is the whole game, meaning it's the healthiest for your heart, fat loss, and longevity, while the other camp says muscle is what keeps you young. So you either lift or you lose it. Both sides are pretty much half right, but being half right is exactly what keeps people stuck. Here's the thing. This was never an either or, because living longer and functioning better are two different biological goals running on two different systems. So let me define this better for you. Longevity is about the engine, like your cardiovascular system, your mitochondria, how efficiently your body produces and uses energy over time. Strength, on the other side, is about function, and it's the frame of the car, right? It's your muscles, your strength, your ability to carry your own body through the world without help. One keeps the lights on while the other one keeps you moving. And what I can tell you from 18 years of being in clinical practice in tens of thousands of labs is one thing. The people who age the best optimize both. So the real question isn't which one wins. The real question is which one do you need to feel good, stay independent, have constant steady energy, and still be the most capable person in the room decades from now. Then what actually matters, and what I can tell you from 18 years of being in clinical practice in tens of thousands of labs is one thing. The people who age the best are optimizing both. So the real question isn't which one wins. The real question is which one do you need to feel good, stay independent, have constant steady energy, and still be the most capable person in the room decades from now. Then what actually matters most and in what order? And that's exactly what I'm going to break down in this video today. All right, so think of aging like flying a plane across the country. Cardio is the engine that keeps you in the air long enough to reach your destination. But strength training is the landing gear that determines whether you can still stand up and walk away from that flight. So cardio protects your lifespan while strength protects your health span, and you need both. So let's start with cardio and why cardio matters so much. Well, you have something called your VO2 max, which is basically your aerobic horsepower. It measures how effectively your heart, your lungs, and muscles can utilize oxygen. You can look incredibly strong, but you can have a weak cardiovascular system. And as long as you have a weak cardiovascular system, it's going to be very difficult for you to output more energy while you're lifting weights. VO2 max is also defined as how much oxygen volume you can take up in a minute, and there's different zones to it. Just like if you're trying to lift to get bigger or to just get defined, there's a different rep theory that you're applying in order to achieve your goal. The same thing applies for your cardiovascular health. And since I'm a study guy, I like to bring up a study that I read online, which is a Cleveland Clinic study followed 122,000 adults for a median of 8.4 years. Those who had a poor VO2 max compared to those who had a fit cardiorespiratory system were 5 times more likely to die. And a poor VO2 max beat smoking, diabetes, and vascular disease almost combined. So I think it's inevitable that if you're going to consider yourself healthy, that you have to do cardio. There's no way around it. Period. End of story. So if this information startled you, go measure your VO2 max and start training it, because improving your aerobic engine is one of the highest return on investments you're ever going to gain on your longevity. So now we're going to move into strength training. And why does it matter so much? Well, muscle has been already coined as the longevity currency, because muscle is one of the greatest forms of our metabolic reserves, right? Basically, skeletal muscle is the primary tissue responsible for insulin glucose disposal, meaning The more muscle you have, the more glucose your body can intake and hold within your muscles because it's like a sponge. So technically speaking, you can afford to have some more cheat meals than somebody with lower amounts of muscle. All right, we're going to talk about strength training now. So basically, I'll start with muscle has been coined as the longevity currency, which I actually agree to that. And the reason for that is because your body can take a greater load of metabolic activity when you have more muscle mass. What that means, if you decide to go out and eat a cheat meal filled with carbohydrates, your body is going to be able to soak up and utilize those carbohydrates much better because you have more muscle. And muscle will fill up first with glycogen, which is a stored form of glucose, in order to preserve energy. All right, we're going to talk about weight resistance training. So let's coin what muscle is considered today, which is a longevity currency. And the reason why it's considered longevity currency is because the more muscle you pack, the better the buffer you have against the load of carbohydrates at a high level and what it does to your body and your insulin and etc. So what I mean by that, the more muscle you build, the more glycogen your muscles can hold, which is basically the stored form of sugar, which comes in the form of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are broken down to glucose, and glucose is stored inside your muscles as glycogen because you need reserves in your liver and your muscles. So when you go work out, you have high energy demands, right? So the point of also holding muscle is that your basal metabolic rate increases. And what that means, let's say I need 2,000 calories a day for my body to stay in shape and to not gain weight. And all of a sudden, I basically pack on 4 or 5 pounds of muscle. Then that means my basal metabolic rate is going to go up with it. So instead of needing 2,000 calories, I need more like 2,500 calories to maintain my body weight because now my body requires a higher calorie intake because I have more metabolic tissue. So if you compare fat to muscle, fat burns about 2 calories per pound per body weight, while muscle, depending on the density of the muscle fiber, burns 6 to 10 calories per pound per hour. So obviously, having higher levels of muscle is the best route to take. And the last thing I could say about having more muscle, you become more insulin sensitive. So even if you go out and you have a cheat meal, like a high carbohydrate meal, your body again will be able to buffer that sugar load much better because you have a higher glucose disposal reservoir where your body can absorb more of that than when you don't have muscle. And the other thing is, the cool thing that most people don't know is that after you work out, if you consume carbohydrates, you have these little transporters inside your cells called GLUT4, and they will basically go to the cell receptor, to the surface of the receptor, and basically take in the glucose without having to use your pancreas to release insulin and so on in order to basically help you shuttle that glucose inside your cells. You can actually bypass that whole thing, meaning it's making you more insulin sensitive every time you train and eat your carbs after. So the best time to eat carbs is right after your training. And I'll close out the muscle section with a study of 115,000 adults aged 65 and older found that strength training activity was associated with lower mortality, with the strongest overall outcomes seen in those who combined strength training with aerobic training. And another study showed 30 minutes of strength training 3 times per week for 6 weeks increased muscle glucose clearance and insulin sensitivity, which basically prevents diabetes. 3 times a week. That's all you need to do. So let's talk about how I distribute my training throughout the week. And after all the research that I looked at, what I have found to be the most sound advice and most effective way of training so you can reduce the wear and tear on your body, because every time you push, pull, up, down, you're creating wear and tear. So my whole idea of playing this game is how strong could I stay and how fit could I stay for as long as I can. So the less wear and tear, the more mileage I'm going to have on my vehicle long term, right? So Mondays, I'll do upper body. Tuesdays, I'll do lower body. Wednesday, I'll do cardio. Thursday, I'll do upper body. Friday, I do lower body. And then Saturday, I do cardio again. Sunday, you can take off. I usually go to the gym and stretch or, do some movement. I'm not really training. I'm walking, if anything. So technically walking or anything that's moving your body is still a form of cardio training, but I'm not basically running my cardiovascular respiratory rate to a zone 3 or above, right? So you have zone 1 all the way to zone 5. Once you start going zone 2 and above, you're straining your body, right? So Sundays usually is rest or I'm doing something light is the point. So to get back to what I was trying to tell you, I used to train 12 sets per muscle group once a week. But then I figured out that because muscle protein synthesis is stimulated for 24 to 48 hours, what that means is that muscle stimulates for growth no more than 48 hours. So if you're doing it once a week, you're putting your muscles in a growth phase for about 48 hours. And then from there it starts to come down, right? And mind you, I maintained muscle at once a week with no problem. I just found that my body looked better and I looked more solid and lean by splitting the same volume. So I used to do 12 sets once a week per muscle group. I basically broke that same volume into 2 trainings. So instead of doing 12 sets once a week, I'm doing 6 sets twice a week. And that's why I do upper body, lower body, cardio. Upper body, lower body, cardio. So I'm basically, when I do upper body, I'm working on my chest, my back, my biceps, and my triceps and my shoulders. And I'm doing basically 6 sets. Next day, I'm doing legs, right? 6 sets, then the cardio. And then Thursday and Friday, I repeat the same thing. Now on the cardio, the studies show that you should get about 150 minutes of cardiorespiratory training per week. So on the Wednesday and Saturday that I'm doing cardio, I do a full 60-minute cardiorespiratory training, and I'm doing high intensity interval training. So I'm going from zone 1 to zone 4. Sometimes I'll get into zone 5, drop back down, recover for 90 seconds, and repeat the same cycle 8 to 12 times. And then I'll do some light cardio throughout the rest of the time. But the point is, you want to get 150 minutes a week. So on the days that I do cardio, I'm doing 60 minutes. And then in between that, during my workouts, when I finish doing weights, I'll do another 15 minutes on 2 different sessions, which it totals up to 150 minutes. If I'm doing 2 sessions of 60 minutes, that's 120. And then 2 other sessions of 15 minutes, that's 150 minutes. Now, the last thing I'll say about training, if you don't have the time, I could tell you without a doubt, we've had possibly 2 dozens of patients that they told us, I only have 2 days a week. And I literally got them on a program where they did 1 day upper body, like on Monday upper body, and on a Thursday they did lower body, and they did 9 sets in total. So 9 sets of upper body on every muscle group that has to do with upper body on Monday, and then 9 sets on Thursday for your lower body. So basically 2 workouts per week for 8 weeks, which it totals up to be 16 workouts throughout 2 months. They saw a 20-pound drop in weight. They gained about 5 pounds of muscle, and they felt like they've never felt before. So if you don't have time, when in doubt, get your butt into the gym or do it from home. You buy some dumbbells, you buy a TRX band, a pull-up bar, and you work out from home. And the workout that I gave them, check this out, was 20 minutes. That's what it took them to do an entire workout. You're back to back. It's called circuit training. You're moving one station after the other. So you're doing chest, you're doing back, and you're moving to the next muscle. And then you take a break and you repeat. So it was taking on average 20 minutes, 2 workouts per week, total of 16 workouts, meaning in 2 months you got 16 workouts, and the results were astonishing. So could you get good results? Yeah, you can. Would we ask you to do more if you can? Of course. But if you can only afford twice a week, then do twice a week. And if you can only do 1, then do 1. And the studies show that if you maintain at least consistency for 6 months, you will create a new pattern of consistency where you will just crave that workout. And then usually that workout becomes, I want a second one. And then you get to the point that I'm at where it's, I need to work out minimum 5 days a week to feel normal. Like it's just, I need to go release energy. And that happens to a lot of people that have been training 20 plus years. All right. So we all start somewhere. I would recommend you start with once a week. If you already feel that doing twice a week is overwhelming, then just start with 1 day a week, 20 minutes. Even if that's walking consistently, 20 minutes a day. And then you start, experimenting. And that's it for that part. So let's talk about the last part of this video, which is going to be, should you be doing weight resistance first and then cardio, or the other way around? So hands down, all the research shows that you need to do weight training first and then you get the cardio done. Why? Because when you're working out, your body is going to deplete. It has higher energy demands, so it needs carbohydrates and phosphocreatine reserves. And those deplete pretty quickly. So you first utilize the high energy demand exercises. You squeeze all the glycogen out of the muscle to leave it fully fatigued, basically. And then that's where I do my 15 minutes twice a week training. After I'm done lifting the weights or doing weight resistance training, that's when you can do 15, 30, even 60 minutes of cardio, just lightly, because take into consideration that you just stressed out your nervous system. One thing that I try to explain to people is that when you're lifting weights, you should not take more than 60 minutes, because research also shows that working out more than 59 minutes of weight resistance training will deplete your testosterone and growth hormone levels. And those are counterintuitive, because those are the two hormones that you need in order to build muscle. So you want to keep your training. I typically be between 30 to 45 minutes weight training, and then I move to my cardio for 15 minutes. That's all I need. That's how I stay under 10% body fat, and I feel phenomenal. And just to close that point out, a meta-analysis showed that performing strength training before cardio training is the most effective way of making muscle and burning fat. This was a meta-analysis. So what that means is that there were multiple studies that basically showed over and over again that doing the weights first and then the cardio is the best way to build muscle and burn fat. So the goal is to build a stronger cardio jet engine, per se, to basically help you go further in life, and a stronger, more trained body so you can be more durable at the things that you want to enjoy every time you reach a new destination. What that destination means, no matter if you're 40, 50, 60, 70, 180, that you're able to perform at every stage of your life. So preserving your cardiovascular respiratory fitness along with strength training is by far, hands down, the most effective way to keep you healthy, vibrant, and to really preserve your longevity. And there you have it. One without the other does not fly. If this information was useful, hit the thumbs up and subscribe, because more content like this is coming. If you want a training plan that's actually built for your body and your biology, text us the word YouTube at the number in the description below.